Hi, this is Ray Gebauer, and I'm really happy that you're listening and watching because I have something I think of tremendous value for you. I got a good story for you. What if it was possible to have and conduct bypass surgery at home? And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Not medical bypass, but a lot of people actually have bypass surgery where, because of heart conditions, and I'm not talking about that. And for the most part, I think that's usually unnecessary because the body creates its own bypass. But I'm using that word bypass because I really like what I read that was written by the University of California, the Berkeley School of Public Health. And what they said is their assessment was that 90% of health issues can be dealt with at home bypassing the need to see a doctor and avoiding the cost of a doctor visit. So the bypass I'm talking about is you can bypass the doctor most of the time by doing stuff yourself at home. And so that's a good, healthy bypass. But you have to know what to do. So I've talked a lot and spent a lot of time in these classes on why we should take our health seriously and what to do. And today we're going to get into more specifics. I'm going to share with you 16 techniques. In fact, this is extracted from my book, 40 Ways to Kill Stress Before It Kills You, in 60 seconds or less. So these are not elaborate, complicated, long techniques that take who knows how long. Some of these you can do in 10, 20 seconds, 60 seconds at the max. Because we need to deal with stress because stress isn't bad, it's actually our friend up to a point. It's, as I explained this in one of the other classes, is stress overload that kills us. It's not stress itself. And there's 5 kinds of stress. There's physical stress, there's chemical stress, electromagnetic stress, psychological stress, and deficiency-based stress, where you're not getting something you need, whether that's enough sunlight or enough sleep or enough oxygen, enough movement, enough vitamin C, certain foods, you're not getting enough raw food, you're not getting enough seeds or nuts or green vegetables. And so it's a combination of all those different kinds of stresses that overload us to the point where the body starts breaking down and we start going downhill. And then it's just a matter of time, we develop a disease. I mean, 80% of Americans are already diabetic and 70% already have heart disease to some extent. Half the people get cancer, and it's not a pretty picture. So what are you going to do about it? And it's like, oh, well, whatever happens, I'll deal with it. Well, what if you can dodge those bullets? Proverbs says, and Solomon said in Proverbs, that a wise man sees danger and he flees, he gets out of there. And so that's what we need to do. So part of how we offset and neutralize stress is by doing specific things. It's somewhat de-stressing to say, oh well, but that has its place and I do that too. But I'm going to share with you 16 ways to reduce stress and reduce your overall stress overload based on my book, 40 Ways to Kill Stress Before It Kills You. Now, some of these things you're already doing. You just need to do them more consciously and more often and realize how helpful they can be. Some of them will be brand new to you, and some of them say, oh yeah, I already do that. Good, do it more. Because how many of you have too much stress in your life? We all have times where we have too much stress, sometimes every day. Now, 2 things before I get into the list of these 16 ways to reduce stress is to get the maximum benefit from all these stress reduction techniques. You want to do 2 things. Number 1, do these not just to get the general benefit, which is good, but also do it with a very clear objective in mind. So what's your objective in that situation? Maybe you have a health condition like high blood pressure or high blood sugar, or you got anxiety, or you got depression, or you got pain somewhere in your body. Pain's a big one. A lot of people have a lot of pain, and all these techniques can help you with all those things. And so to get the most value out of doing each technique, you want to do it with a clear purpose, not just a general, well, this will be beneficial in general, yes, but to really amplify and maximize the value, you want to do it with a specific objective. Like, say, when I do this technique, it's going to decrease my pain, or it's going to help my blood pressure to become more normal, or I'm going to feel more relaxed. I'm not going to feel so uptight. So have a clear goal or objective in mind when you do these techniques, or really any health activity. And the second element that's just as important, maybe even more important, but maybe they're tied, is that you want to do things. Well, before I tell you, let me tell you a story. We all like stories. It's a group of psychologists a number of years ago did a study with these hotel maids. They took a whole bunch of these hotel maids. They're changing beds and cleaning the toilets and vacuuming and all the stuff they do 8 hours a day. And so they divided them up into two groups. And so the one group, Group A, they showed them videos explaining how all of the work they were doing was helping their health, and that it could help them lose weight and help the blood pressure and the blood chemistry and all those things. The other group, out of the same group, the Group B, they talked with them, but they didn't really talk to them about the health benefits of the exercise they were getting that was built into the work. So after a short time, I think it was 4 weeks or maybe 6 weeks, they examined all these ladies, and they had done a health assessment before and after to see how much difference there would be. Well, there's a huge difference between Group A and B, even though they continued to do exactly the same work. Because the Group A, they had all lost weight considerably, lost inches, the blood pressure went down, the blood chemistry improved, and they were just a whole lot healthier in just a short time, because they were now aware that what they were doing was actually healthy for them. But the other group, who didn't have that awareness, nothing changed. They gained weight and nothing changed. So here's the difference. The critical difference is Group A, they had higher expectations. The other group didn't have any expectations. They were just doing my job. But if you're doing something that's healthy and you have expectations that this is going to help you, hopefully high expectations, what that really is faith. That's what faith is having a positive expectation, being optimistic. So when you stand in faith and expect good to happen and positive expectation in everything you do, you get better results. So every time you do one of these techniques, every time you sleep, for example, you want to have a positive expectation. You're going to get a lot of benefit from this. This is going to help everything. It's going to help my pain. It's going to help this and that. Every time you eat and drink to the glory of God, but also eat with faith, expecting this is going to help nourish your body so you'll be healthier and live longer, and hopefully you're eating good food that honors your temple and doesn't, you're not trashing your temple. So, okay, are you ready to hear 16 of the 40 ways to reduce stress before it kills you? Okay, here we go. Number 1, and this is something you're already doing to some extent, and maybe you're not doing this enough, and this only takes like a couple seconds. Let me show you what this is. That's it, smiling. All the studies have shown that when you smile more, not only do you feel better, but you're actually happier. Now, how difficult is that? In fact, they found that if you look in the mirror and smile at yourself, that's even better. seeing yourself smile. Plus, it's a gift to other people. But if you're under stress, and we all have a lot of stress, not even all conscious stress, but smiling more often is stress reducing and helps you to feel better and live longer. Second one is similar, but it's like to the next level. Better than smiling is laughing. The more we laugh, that's an expression of joy. Is that part of the fruit of the Spirit? Love, joy, peace, patience, there's 9 of them. But number 2 position is joy. And not only to feel joy, but to express it in our face and with sound, with laughing. There's a famous story, and others have done this now too. Norman Cousins, he was dying of some kind of cancer. And he discovered that laughing was really, really helpful. It reduced his pain, for one thing. So he would spend hours, 8, 10 hours a day watching funny videos. And he healed himself of cancer just by using this one tool. He's probably doing other things too, but they didn't think he was going to live. And he totally turned himself around by going to extreme, not in moderation. He was going to extreme and laughing like all day. So the more often you laugh, the better. In fact, the studies show even if it isn't funny, you can go stand in front of the mirror and just laugh. And some people advocate laughing for 2-3 minutes, once or twice a day, even if you don't have something that would trigger laughter normally. Just to be laughing, so just going through it, like even pretending you're happy, just going through the motions is really beneficial and reduces stress, because most people have way too much stress. It's all adding up, all different kinds: chemical stress, electromagnetic stress, deficiency-based stress. So everything you do to reduce stress in any of those 5 categories is going to be beneficial to you. Make sense? Here's another simple, easy stress-reducing technique that you're probably using but never really tied it to stress. And that is drinking water. I could demonstrate here, but you know what I mean. But some people, they never drink water. They get some liquid like in their foods or their coffee and tea, and all that's good. But you need something. If you feel particularly under stress or you feel hungry, often the best thing you can do, one of the best things, is to drink a whole glass of water. I think room temperature is best, but drink a glass of water first thing in the morning. That's what you should do. Have 1 or 2 glasses of water. But when you're under stress and on an ongoing basis, a habit, drink water. Now, is it okay to drink tap water? Yeah, it's okay, but not the smartest thing to do, because water is full of poison. Between the chlorine and fluoride, and please never, never, never use toothpaste that has fluoride in it. It's a poison. It says right on the container. I don't know why people still do that. But fluoride is in most water. So you need to find a way to purify your water. I use the Berkey water system. It's inexpensive. It actually, you get the filters to take out the fluoride and the chlorine and everything else. It's actually a purifier, not just a filter. So ideally drink pure water, but drink water when you're feeling stressed or feeling hungry, because oftentimes you're not really hungry. You just need water. Most people are dehydrated. You need at least 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. So it's easy to do, easy not to do. Number 4, one more thing about water. The other valuable thing about water, besides drinking it, is to get in it. Take a shower, take a bathtub. Take a bath in the bathtub, or even better yet, get into nature. Get into a lake or get into the ocean, or if it's too cold or you don't want to get into the water, be around the water. Just being around the body of water, the studies are now showing that really helps your immune system and your health, just being around water. Okay, number 4 is light. We are designed to be in the light, and not just artificial light like I have around me here, but natural light, light from the sun. And unfortunately, this myth has pervasively penetrated our society, and people are afraid of the sun. They think the sun hurts them. The sun is one of your best friends. a lot of people got healed from different diseases by getting a lot of time in the sunlight. Now, it's good up to the point where you start getting sunburned, then the benefit goes away and it could be harmful. And please don't ever use sunblock again, because that's full of chemicals and that causes cancer. But you want as much time in the natural sunlight as possible, or going to a tanning booth and getting some ultraviolet rays that way. That can be really useful. So time in the light, particularly in sunlight. Now, there's a problem with light at night. The longer we stay up, the more that throws us off balance and producing the melatonin. But also these days, most everybody has cell phones and computers. And so one of the ways to protect yourself from bad light, particularly blue light that comes from your devices, is to wear these kind of glasses. They look like normal glasses, but they have some kind of coating or something to block out the blue light. So at night, blue light is particularly harmful and stressful on your system. During the day, it's not a problem. And also on the other end of the spectrum, red light is actually very healing. You can buy red light lamps. They reduce inflammation, help the immune system. So red light is very, very therapeutic. I have a red light lamp that I use. And at night, to protect myself from the stress caused by looking at my cell phone or my computer, I wear these glasses. I got them on Amazon for $20, so they're inexpensive. And it protects you from the harmful effects of blue light at nighttime. So I would highly recommend that to you as well. Should I keep these on? Do I look better with the glasses? Do I look more intelligent? Or I only wear those at night. They don't help me see better. But it does protect me from that blue light, which is not healthy at night. Okay, let's go to another technique. Number 5 out of 16. Walking is stress reducing. You need it anyway, but especially if you're under stress, get out of the seat and walk around. Now, the best place to walk is out there with the trees and in nature, ideally barefoot on the grass. That may not be realistic for you, but you need to go walking outside at least once or twice a day, ideally for 20 or 30 minutes. I'm really grateful and blessed that I live like 60 seconds from this wooded area. There's a couple hundred evergreen trees and a really nice trail. And I walk around, and usually for at least 30 minutes to sometimes 2 hours every day. Frequently an hour or more. And part of the time, I'm just there enjoying the beauty and majesty of God as reflected in His creation, being around the trees. And but even if you leave God out of it, it's still healthy for you to be around trees and being in nature and the fresh air and hearing the birds and hearing, if there's any wind, the sound of the wind and the rustling of the leaves. All that's really stress reducing. So, and if you can't spend a whole hour, just walking, take your cell phone and talk to people, reconnect. I do a lot of ministry and business on the phone while I'm walking. First 5 minutes, I don't use my phone. I just enjoy the presence and the awe of this beauty. So walking is a really simple, easy thing. You're already doing walking, right? You just need to do it more, okay? Especially when you realize how much it helps you in stress reduction. Ideally, you want to walk around water, if that's reasonable, realistic for you. If there's a lake nearby, or a river, or a creek, being around water is very therapeutic and stress reducing. And waterfalls particularly good because you have a lot more of the negative ions that really help clear out your brain and help you feel better, and it's healthier for you. Okay, number 6 that I'm sharing with you right now. This is a very interesting technique that you probably already do, but you never thought of it as a technique because it's so ingrained into our system, we tend to do this intuitively. Have you ever been in a situation or ever seen anyone else do this? And for some reason, people put their hand on their head. Why do we do that? Because it helps. And so in applied kinesiology and Touch for Health, which I started learning this, became a certified instructor and practitioner in applied kinesiology. This is one of the first techniques I use. And I use this every day on myself. And I use it on people frequently. In fact, I use it on a friend yesterday, actually for about 2.5 hours. I did a lot of therapy to help her release herself from a lot of trauma and stress and energy blocks. And the primary thing that I used was this technique we call it ESR. So ESR stands for Emotional Stress Release. And it's really simple because it's based on neurovascular reflex points discovered back in the 1930s by some doctor. I think it's Dr. Chapman, perhaps. And they discovered 14 of these neurovascular points on the body. All of them are on the head except one, which is behind the knees. And each neurovascular point relates to a different organ or system. Some relate to the heart, some to the lungs and kidneys and liver. But these two relate particularly to the heart and, to the stomach and to the brain. And they're particularly effective for reducing stress, usually within 10 to 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Sometimes if it's really traumatic, you got to go several minutes. But even just 10, 20 seconds will help. So here's how it works. These are not pressure points. So the amount of pressure you use will be about the same pressure you would put on your eyeballs. You don't put a lot of pressure there, right? Same thing here. So about halfway between the eyebrow and hairline. So you just touch there, ideally with both hands, or you could use one hand, your fingers on one side, thumb on the other, or use your entire hand. When I can, I like to use both hands. And the way this works, well, first of all, it doesn't matter why, actually. It just works really well. And especially on children or older people or anybody, on animals. If your animal is stressed out, they have anxiety. So it works whether you have anxiety or sadness or depression or anger. It helps really reduce that. And the reason why they finally figured out is because when you're under stress, often that's a fight or flight kind of dynamic. So to better equip and accommodate the body to handling that stress or that danger, what the body does, it shifts the blood from the front of the brain, the frontal cortex, to the back of the brain, the limbic brain. So you can act faster and more quickly without having to think it through. If you analyze things too long, it slows things down. They talk about paralysis by analysis. So you're somewhat mentally disabled in terms of your thinking and creativity when you're under stress because the blood has sort of gone more to the back of the brain to handle that stressful situation. So that can be good. But if you wanted to bring the blood back to the front of the brain and get back more into a calm, peaceful state where you think more rationally and the anger comes down, the depression comes down, or the anxiety comes down, you use these points. So of all the techniques I know, over 100, if I only had one, this would be the one. So just lightly touching those points and think about whatever is stressing you. Now, it doesn't have to be just emotional stress. It also works for physical stress. So if you have pain in your body, say you got pain in your elbow, pain in your back, pain in your head. In fact, for headaches, in doing this since 1978, I've done this on thousands of people, 80% of the time, maybe closer to 90% of the time, I can get rid of someone's headache, and so can you now, within 20 or 30 seconds by just doing these points, the ESR points, the emotional stress release points. So it's particularly good on emotional stress, whatever kind of stress, but also physical stress, or if you're exposed to, say, chemicals or any kind of stress, this will help 100% of the time. And most of the time, it's really obvious, like all of a sudden the person, or you feel better. So you can do it yourself, and sometimes it's better, more effective when someone else does it on you instead of you doing it on yourself. But I do it on myself every day, at least once a day, sometimes just for 30 seconds. So it's a very valuable, powerful technique. It's underestimated, underutilized, and most people don't even know about it as a technique. So here's another really simple, easy technique that takes less than 60 seconds, probably more like 10 seconds. These are sometimes referred to as the master reset points. It's like rebooting your computer. Sometimes you need to reboot your computer or your router. And so these are called the K27 points. They're right underneath the collarbone, next to the sternum, about right here. And so what you do, you rub these points, ideally with one hand, and put one hand over your navel as a grounding point, because it is an electrical system. These are the last final points on the kidney acupuncture meridian. So you just rub these points like this or like this, and just for, say, 10, 20 seconds, and it's like resetting your biocomputer. So that's simple. I do that every day. So I recommend it to you. And it can help instantly, within 10, 20 seconds. So it's another tool that you have to reduce your stress. Here's another simple tool that you may not have thought of as a technique, but this is very powerful. All of these are, really. I was going to share like the top 10, but I end up with 16 here. 15 or 16? Yeah, 16. They're all important. But this one is really easy to do. You're already doing it to some extent, hopefully, probably, and that is using music, especially music you like. Like recently I discovered some really wonderful songs. It's a Beautiful Day by Jamie Grace. I listen to that every day. She has the Happy song. It's another fantastic song she has. But music can be very, very powerful. Not just for just casual enjoyment or for worship, but for stress reduction. Now, to get the best value out of music, you want to be engaged in that music in some way, at least by moving your body with it, whether it's tapping your foot, or clapping, or just touching your fingers together in rhythm with the beat. And when you do that, it sort of merges you with the music and the energy of the music, and you get more stress reduction value from that. Even better than that is to sing or to hum with the music while you're moving your body, the tapping. And even best yet is to dance. Now, I know a lot of you aren't up to that, and in a lot of situations it's not really, it might seem weird to be dancing, and but sometimes I do that by myself. I listen to music and I do a little bit of dance for 1 or 2 minutes, because I know that helps you live longer and feel better, stress reducing. But listening to music for therapeutic reasons, realizing it can, and expecting it can help you, and get in beat with the music, tap or move something, clap your hands, or bounce up and down rhythm music, or some kind of movement to maximize your value from that. Here's another really important one that is simple to do, is helpful for children, at any age really, and that is a particular kind of movement. There's two basic kinds of movement that involve both sides of the body. One's called homolateral, others called bilateral. Homo meaning same side, bilateral meaning opposite. So bilateral movement, commonly known as cross crawl, really helps reduce stress because it helps integrate the two hemispheres of the brain. So we sort of have like two brains, right and left brains, and they do different functions, but they're not always really well integrated. Sometimes they're sort of like one at a time, or they're in conflict. So this helps them integrate more. So let me demonstrate. It's really simple. All you got to do is basically sort of march in place. Or you could do this while you're walking. But if you do it consciously, realizing, hey, this is really helping my brain work better and reduces stress. And it's actually a good add-on after any technique that you used, any stress-reducing technique. If you end up with some cross crawl, it helps sort of cement it in and makes it last longer. But just on its own, just marching in place, opposite sides like this, and some people like to touch the opposite knee as they're marching. So I've been doing that since 1978 as one of the techniques in applied kinesiology. And now you can be doing it too. Another very powerful stress-reducing technique that I do multiple times every day, that just takes 10, 20 seconds, is whole body vibration. I've talked about this in other classes, but I'm going to bring it up again because it's really, really important, because we get too much just horizontal movement. Most people, not even enough horizontal movement, like walking around. They're sitting too much. But we also benefit tremendously by vertical movement. You know, like just bouncing up and down like this. If your feet flat, or better yet, landing on your heels. So you have more of an impact, so it's a little more stressful, which is actually good because then your body has to adapt even more, or even, jumping off the floor. So just doing that for 10 or 20 seconds, helps. Doing it on a ball. I do that every day. I bouncing on the ball, sitting down, bouncing, sitting on my back. That's, especially if I feel stressed, I need to do a little bit of bouncing. So it's easy to do, easy not to do. Just takes a few seconds, and that's the easy thing to do when you're remembering to get up every 30 minutes if you're sitting for a long time. You do a little bit of bouncing for joy. Or you can do some leaping for joy. But that vertical movement, because it actually exercises and stimulates every organ and cell in your body. If you're lifting weights, you're just stressing, exercising the muscles. But when you move your whole body up and down, you're actually stimulating your heart and your liver, your kidneys, your lungs, your brain, your eyeballs, your knees, your shoulders. Everything is beneficial. It benefits every cell in your body. It helps circulation, helps the lymphatic fluid. So it's really, really important and really easy to do, easy not to do. Most people don't realize the value. So do it with expectation. Whatever problem that you have, whenever you do your whole body vibration, say, this is going to really help whatever problem you have. This is really going to help my body recover from this diabetes, or from cancer or heart disease, or you're recovering from a stroke, or you had a back injury. It can help all those things, especially if you expect it to. And use that positive expectation, which is faith, in everything you do, including when you go to sleep. Like, wow, this is my regeneration time. It's going to really help my body heal and just maintain, Okay, next one, number 11. This is called reframing. This is a very powerful technique. And there's two ways a lot of ways, but two ways I'm going to give you here to how to reframe. So let's say a bad situation happens. It's a painful memory, it's upsetting, maybe it triggers anxiety. So your mind's sort of stuck with one memory, which probably isn't even 100% accurate, but that's the memory as sort of negative. But the memory isn't negative, but say the experience was, and the emotions are still stuck in your body. So one of the ways to reduce the stress is to create a new memory. An artificial new memory. Not talking about artificial intelligence, but artificial memory, that once you create this deliberately, now the brain doesn't have just one place to go with that memory. It has an alternative one that's different. So you're not stuck with just one negative. Now you have a positive memory that's sort of the same thing, but you reframed it differently in one of two ways. One, you can reframe it with humor. And so whatever happened that was really a bad situation, imagine it happening, but in a way that was funny, like ridiculous or silly. And the more silly, the better, And when you recreate that memory with the same, say, sequence of events, it gives your brain a different pathway to go. So instead of it being like in color, maybe have it in black and white. Maybe, and you're wearing a clown suit, and you're doing cartwheels or something, or somersaults, and you're singing, and you're just being acting like a fool, but it's sort of funny and silly, but it's stress reducing. Now the other way to reframe, whatever happened that was stressful, is to reframe not just for humor, but instead reframe for value. So now you think this bad thing happened that we're considering bad anyway, and maybe it just really was bad, no dispute about it. But now you frame it around the context of Romans 8:28. God is able to make all things work together for good for those who love him. So you look for the value. What's the value in this situation I just went through? Is it just a test to make me stronger? What life lessons do I get out of this? How can I appreciate something about this experience? Where is the value? Where is the buried treasure, the hidden treasure that's not so obvious in this situation? And maybe ask God, what do I need to see in this situation where I can be grateful for something I'm getting out of this bad situation? Whatever it is. Say you get fired from your job and you love your job, you're making good money, and for no good reason they fire you. Well, you say, well, that's a bad situation. Well, maybe there's value in that because maybe God has something better for you, or maybe it's time for you to start your own business, or maybe it was really stressful there, you stayed anyway, and you need to get out of there because it's stress overload. So reframing for humor and value is really, really helpful and stress reducing. This one is similar, but this is called freeze frame. Freeze frame is a technique that I learned maybe 15, 20 years ago, 20 some years ago from Heart Math Institute. Heart Math, M-A-T-H, you can look it up. And I went through a 3-day workshop, I read their books, I've listened to audio, but this is a real powerful, simple technique. It has 5 steps. The first step is the freeze frame part. So something negative, but you perceive is negative, feels negative, happens, a negative experience is stressful. And so the first thing is you freeze frame. It's like it's a movie and you freeze the frame that's the most stressful. Then you focus on your heart physically. Maybe put your hand over your heart and pretend like you're breathing into your heart. So you're putting your attention on your physical heart. And the third step is you want to feel, you want to recall a happy time, ideally a time where you felt really valued and appreciated, by somebody, whether that was yesterday or 20, 30 years ago. If you can't think of a time, make one up, but you want to generate and re-feel that feeling of value and appreciation. The next step is then you want to ask God or ask your heart. If you don't believe in God, ask your heart. Ask, what is the value in the situation? Or ask, what is a different perspective I could take? And by the way, wisdom is having God's perspective. So you want to ask and contemplate, explore, what is a different perspective I could have about this situation? While you're feeling some appreciation about it, because you're taking that happy feeling of appreciation and feeling it at the same time you're sort of done the freeze frame and you're feeling the pain or disappointment or the upsetness. So ask, and then listen for some kind of answer. So how should I view this? What's a more healthy, mature way to view the situation? Listen for that answer. Something will come. And then you act on it. So then do something different based on what you heard. And so that's the freeze frame technique in Heart Math. So try it. You'll like it. Works really well. Okay, a couple more here. We got, 4 more to go. Okay, this is another simple one here. In kinesiology, they discovered that because there's a lot of reflex points on the ear, that if you rub the inside of the ear like this, pretty vigorously, not only does it help wake you up, like sometimes when I'm driving getting sleepy, I'll rub one ear at a time, and it helps keep you more alert and awake, but it also reduces stress because you activate a whole, several dozen acupuncture points. So just doing that, boy, I feel better right now. Just doing that That helps reduce stress. And it's simple, easy to do. Just do that for 10, 20 seconds. You can do that for other people too. Also along that line, you can do for yourself and others, squeeze the fingertips, pretty hard. Each fingertip is a lot of acupuncture meridians in. So like just 2, 3, 5, 10 seconds on each fingertip feels wonderful, is stress reducing, and helps the body get back on track and feel more normal. So fingertips, the ears, rubbing your hands and your bottom of your feet, scalp massage, you can do yourself better at if someone else does it for you, or rub your shoulders, your ears. All of those things are really, really helpful, more than most people imagine, especially when you have positive expectation and you do it in the context of a goal or an objective, like I mentioned at the beginning. Don't forget that. Okay, here's something else you can do that works more, not really biochemically, but energetically, but through something you put in your mouth. There's a homeopathic called calming. It comes from Germany. Calming, C-A-L-M-I-N-G. You can buy this for like $10 or so. It's little tablets. They might have liquid too. Just take a tablet and it activates certain things to help calm you down. It works good at any age, including children. And so if you're under a lot of stress, that's a real simple thing to do in addition to all these other options. And there's another remedy that's similar to that but works differently. It's called the rescue remedy. So when you're under stress or anxiety or you feel upset, the rescue remedy is a Bach flower remedy, B-A-C-H. It was designed in England, discovered and developed, over 100 years ago, and it still works. So I've used those on occasion. Someone's under a lot of stress, like including you, that's something, for 10, 15 bucks, you can have that as a remedy, just like you'd have other things for physical injuries as a remedy, like hydrogen peroxide, to put on a cut or something. But the rescue remedy is very, very good. Okay, 2 more to go. Number 15 is, and this is real basic, Paul says more than once in the New Testament, he says, greet each other with a holy kiss. So in that day and age, that was the custom. In some cultures, like the Italians, they gave each other a kiss on the cheek, and it's a very wonderful gesture. Now, in our culture, a similar thing that's sort of equivalent to that is giving each other hugs. That's more acceptable. And I've read, I don't know if this is true, that it says to be healthy, everybody needs 12 hugs a day. How many hugs a day are you getting? How many hugs did you get today? I don't know how it works to hug yourself. It's probably you need someone else to hug you. So you could go up to your spouse or somebody, whether it's at church, say, hey, I need a hug today. Or, hey, can I give you a hug? And actually, the longer the better. To get the full benefit, you need 10, 15, 20 seconds, ideally. But as many hugs as you can per day is really, really good. Human touch is good. Holding hands. If you're married and you sleep together, hold each other as much as possible. That human touch, even just the short hugging, is extremely beneficial and stress reducing. So if you're under stress, one of the things you can do, go get a hug. I don't know, maybe knock on the door next door. Hey, I really need a hug. It would be okay to get a hug from you, give you a hug. Okay, the last one I'm going to share, I've shared in another class, but I just want to bring it up again because it's one of the most recent techniques that I've developed and use a lot myself every day, and that's using biofeedback. So much of how we operate is already on biofeedback. So you're already doing this. You just don't think of it as biofeedback. When you're driving a car, you keep adjusting the wheel. That's biofeedback. When you look in the mirror, you make any changes from what you see. That's biofeedback. Well, there's a way to create biofeedback therapeutically, especially if you're under stress. Let's say you're feeling really stressed out. If you want to do biofeedback on your heart, what you can do is you create a sound, a vibration, and that sound is going to contain, embedded in that sound, information that's already being emitted from the body. And when you generate that sound and hear it, now you have a possibility to create biofeedback, which is what you do. You tell your brain, say, hey, listen to the sound that I'm making. So you do it on the top of your head. So you're making a sound, do it on your ears or your shoulders, wherever you have an issue. Listen to that sound, analyze it to see what's off, what's out of balance, and then make whatever correction or adjustments that you can make. So I do this every day on multiple parts of my body, just as a maintenance, over my heart. Listening to the sound, doing the biofeedback, telling my brain to analyze and adjust whatever it can. When I was having some shoulder problems a while back, I would do this every day on my shoulders. Listen to the sound, and it would immediately help reduce the pain, increase the strength. You can do this on your liver, on your kidneys. You can do it on your brain if you want to improve your brain functionality, your memory. You could make the sound in the back of your head and top of your head. Do it on the ESR points right here, and listen to the sound. So just touching these points help, but if you're making a sound and listening to it and doing it for biofeedback, telling your brain, listen to this information, to the sound that has this information about what's going on, and make whatever adjustments you make, that is extremely helpful. So that's one of the newest techniques that I've come up with. And but it won't help you if you don't use it. In fact, knowledge is the booby prize. It doesn't do you any good unless you use it. Yes, the beginning of wisdom is knowledge and fear of God, but knowledge doesn't do you any good unless you apply it properly and with the right timing and the right frequency. So I know all of these techniques, the 16 I shared that are part of the 40 in my book, 40 Ways to Kill Stress Before It Kills You Within 60 Seconds or Less. I know this will help you if you use it. And we do all this not only so we can feel better, have less stress and less pain, less anxiety or depression or anger, and feel better, but also to live longer and be healthier. And we do all this for God's glory. All healing ultimately is from God, but we got to do certain things. You got to eat enough food. Most people eat too much. You have to eat the right food, the right timing, and so when stuff happens, start using these techniques. Do 3 or 4 of them. Do ESR, the master reset points. Do the whole body vibration. Go for a walk outside, especially barefoot. Go barefoot as often as you can, even in the house, but especially outside. It's a grounding effect. So thank you so much for listening. I know this will be a blessing and great value to you and your family. Don't just use these techniques on yourself. Share them with others. I shared this with somebody just yesterday, and they met someone at the store, and the person said they had this problem. Oh, I can help you with that. I can get rid of your headache. They did the ESR, and within 30 seconds, the guys, it's gone. How does that work? So start using it. Have fun with it. Experiment. The ESR is not going to get rid of pain 100% of the time, but 80% of the time it will. And all these techniques work, but they only work if you work them and use them. So please do, for your good, for God's glory, because really if you do enough of the right things, the rest of your life can be the best of your life. And it also helps you to be more of a hero in your own story. If you get someone out of pain just by doing the ESR, you're sort of a little hero in that scenario, right? So we want to be a hero for God and for others and for ourselves in our hero journey. And so be a hero in your own story by making a difference and helping others, including helping yourself with these techniques. So thank you so much for listening. I am so grateful and blessed that I can impart this to you. I know it will make a difference for you. Thank you.